it's the standard, and it's surprising how many people don't know his version. Christina Aguilera did a pretty good version along with Herbie Hancock in the 90s, but nothing stands up against Donny Hathaway's version of that song.
Welcome to Message Reveal. Message Reveal identifies a vibe, a message, or a story told through lyrics of a song. Well, you guys, if you rock with me every week, you know what I do. I have a special guest, and I can't wait to tell you, well, yes, he's special, but he's been on here before. But before we get started, let me tell you a few things about my special guest. One, he's an artist of many different things. He's also a film producer. We can't wait to find out more about what he's working on. And last but definitely not least, he's a lover of music. You see where our connection come in. You guys, please put your hands together and welcome my special guest, Mr. Emmett.
How you doing? It's good to be back.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I had to have him back. He's working on another project. But before we get into that, if you want to find out what he did previously or get some just insight on him, he was on my first season, episode number 29, Sir Duke. So you guys, you can always go check it out. But right now we're going to talk about what's going on. So, sir, I must start with this. What's been going on in your world?
I've just been in production on our next documentary film. I recently suffered an aneurysm, so recovering from that, and yeah, it's between those two activities. That's been most of my time.
Well, that's been a lot. So I'm happy to have you on. I'm happy you said yes to me because I know you are a busy man. But, I will come and hound you down and say, hey, sir, I need you on this platform.
Right on. Right.
So let's just get started and let's talk about music. Your love of music. I love music. Let's talk about the process of you identifying a song for either lessons, blessings, or distraction. And you already know how I do. If you can sing, you must sing your throat box out, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you can't get that. I can only do baritone. So, uh,
Listen, that works too. If you can
well,
rap, I know you can rap.
yeah, but the song that fits that description is there's no baritone, no lyric, no rap lyrics. It's an R&B classic,
Okay,
one of my
okay.
favorites, and that is Donny Hathaway's version of a song for you. And it's one that is such a beautiful rendition of the song. Of course, other people have made it. You had the Carpenters, Ray Charles made a version of it. The song was written by Leon Haywood, but I think his version is just the it's the standard, and it's surprising how many people don't know his version. Christina Aguilera did a pretty good version along with Herbie Hancock in the 90s, but nothing stands up against Donny Hathaway's version of that song.
I felt like when I heard that song originally, that you were automatically connected to his soul. And I felt like that's why that version has been probably the most dominant version because it's so connective. And I say this all the time, what comes from the heart penetrates the heart. So I believe that's why that one is so amazing. You sure you don't want to give a couple of bars of it?
Oh man, I mean, that's one of those songs. If you can't sing, you don't touch it.
I
It would
agree.
be, yeah, it would be audio blasphemy for me to even attempt it. It would. it would, yeah. So no, it's not a good idea that I do that. But I will say, Donny Hathaway. I mean, that's just one of many. I mean, he did a live version of the Beatles yesterday. That should be the standard for that song as well. He was just an incredible artist, incredible performer. He's authentic. I believe he wholly belongs to Black Americans because the
Mm,
average white person, average, unless they're into deep R&B, old school R&B, you mention his name, they don't even know who he is. But for Black Americans, he's a staple. And very sad, tragic life. I might try to get the rights to maybe do that movie. It will be a sad film, but that is a movie I would like to see made.
wow. Um, I'm glad you said that. Speaking of that, that's one of the questions. This pertains to what you've done prior with Across the Tracks, the West Side Story. You seem, and we'll go into what you're doing currently, not yet, but you seem to have a knack for really discovering the phenomenal things that have been untold. Where does that come from? Because you have to be spiritually connected to say, you know what? Let me dig deeper to find out more about this person and bring it to the forefront to tell a story. A story has to be somewhat entertaining, but have enough information that we were like, wow, we can connect the dots. Where does that come from?
I've always had a love for history, specifically Black American history. And when it came to Across the Tracks, I mean, that's my city. I lived on the West Side. I went to school on the West Side. And the story it's so big. It's such a big story. I mean, it's a story that's not unique to the American Black experience because every city has the exact same story. Ours just comes with Pearl Bailey and Nat King Cole and Sammy Davis Jr. and so on and so forth. Um, and as far as like the research is just doing a lot of deep digging. One of the things I try to offer in any historical film I do is I want for seasoned historians to walk out of there saying, "Wow, I did not know that." I didn't. There was something in there that you didn't know previously, and so that's where that comes from.
I love that. I feel like you always have a unique spin on, even though you're telling the truth and you're telling the story, it's still Emmett Gates' perspective on it. And I really enjoy that. Just recently, someone had stopped by. I won't name my place of business, but they stopped by and they began to ask me more and more and more questions. And of course, this is my native place. I'm going to celebrate it. But I say, for the sake of time, you can make a schedule and come back. But in the meantime, I would suggest you go watch him. He went right in the midst of me talking and looked up your film. He was like, "Oh, this is super dope." I said, "Yes, watch it. And then we can have a dialogue." I said, "I just don't have the time today." And he was so dope. He was like, "Oh, I'm going to share this with a couple of people." He was from Australia. He had heard about the area and he wanted to know more information. So I feel like it's a good connection piece for individuals that don't know about Vegas, was not raised in Vegas, and have no connection to Vegas other than the strip or the entertainment capital of the world.
Yeah, that's right, and that's why I was so passionate about that film. And of course, I'm not the first to do this. Rest in peace to Stan Armstrong. He was, I'd probably say, the most prolific um, uh, history record keeper of the West Side. He passed away a little while ago, and when people think of Las Vegas, they don't think of Black history. They'll think about the casinos, they'll think about mob, they'll think about cowboys, but they don't know just how deep our Black history is here. And so I just wanted to kind of illustrate that. And I'm going to do it with my next one as well.
Yes, yes. Well, we're definitely going to get into your next one because I'm super excited when I found out about that. So let's turn the table just a little and go back to my love, which will say music, but we'll still keep you in your arena, which you love both. But I was always curious, and maybe you can help me out. How do you go through the process to select music for your documentaries? That has to be a very tedious moment because sometimes you want something to hit just right. And we know music makes the world go round, it's the great connector. So, how do you select that process?
Well, when on anything I work on, like my entire team that I select to work with me on that creative project, is they have to be bona fide artists, right? Meaning they have to lead with their passion, whether it's, okay, for example, Robert Perez, my partner and cinematographer, he leads by his passion, right? If I feel like someone is working for me or with me because of the money, I have no interest in working with them. You're going to get paid. If you work for me, you're going to get paid. They might not be Hollywood numbers, but you're going to be taken care of. Um, but if the first thing has to be your passion for what it is you do. So again, Robert Perez with the cinematography, he's going to make sure that the project looks good because it reflects on him. And same thing with the music, sound design, or whatever. Every member of my team is leading by their passion. And so for music, there's no exception. I'll have an idea. I'll give you an example for Across the Tracks. That music was composed by Philip Henry, a very talented multi instrumentalist, jazz, blues, funk, you name it. Um, and what we would do is, and the way we came up with the main theme for that is, he would come here to my house, and right here I would bring all my computer equipment downstairs, and he would plug in his keyboard. I would show him a song. I say, I want something that feels like this. In this case, it was a song by Prince, just a piano solo called Father's Song. And if you've ever seen Purple Rain, you know that song, although you may not have known the title. Um, and I had him listen to that, and I said, I want something that feels like this. He listens. He says, okay. So we plug into the computer. I push record, and then he just freestyles on the keyboard while I'm just laying there with my eyes closed listening. And he'll just be playing, just going through stuff. And then when I hear it, he'll play. He played like 4 to 8 bars of something. I said, wait, stop right there. That's it. He's like, what did I do? Because he's just freestyling. And I stopped the recording. We go back, and I'm like, this part right here, the
Mm,
4 to 8 bars. I'm like, that part right there. I erase everything else. I say that, make a song out of that. And right there on the spot, he'll listen to it a few times, and then he'll go. He'll go and he will create a full song right there on the spot. And that's how we got the theme for Across the Tracks. Yeah.
that is pure creativity. I just have to shout you out and give you a clap, clap on the fact that you said the one thing that I believe that is turning the tables. You must lead with your passion.
Right.
I think that's why Hollywood is having, I don't want to say problems, but you can see the writing is on the wall. And I believe, from my perspective, it's because everything was led by other things instead of the natural process of passion.
Yeah, and you're absolutely correct. If you look at, and that's the same thing that's happening to Las Vegas right now, is the same thing that's happening to Hollywood. Is corporations come in and they move by algorithms. What's going to sell? Same thing's happening to the music industry and every creative industry. What's going to sell? They don't care about the passion. Now they used to. It used to be, if you go back to the golden era of Hollywood, okay, and by golden era, I mean I'm going with the 70s and up. Yeah, yeah, yes, 1970s and up. That's when the blockbuster is created with films like Jaws and Star Wars and things like that. The studio executives, the money guys, understood that that's what they understood their role. We pay for films, but we rely on the passion of filmmakers to make the films. So they didn't get in Steven Spielberg's way. They didn't get into George Lucas's way. They just gave him the money. And the industry thrived because of it. And now you have corporations coming in where these same people who are just the money start believing that they are creatives, and they start to ruin what connects us as humans through creativity. creativity. They're looking at the bottom line instead of the big picture of what this could be.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It makes me think. I think a week or two ago, I was listening to a podcast. I'm a big podcast fan before I became a podcaster. And Neo was on and he talked about an album that he produced. And it didn't do well. And for him, he said that he really felt like giving up. And he ran into Prince. And he was at an event and he said Prince came up to him and told him his work was phenomenal. And that kind of got him back on the path. And we know Prince was big for the creator. It was a lot of stuff that Prince did that we had no idea because it was under a different name. But you are absolutely right. We have to learn to divide. Let the creators be creative and let the people that push the figures. But now they have taken over and now we don't know what's what or how to move forward. And the people that are creators are really bleeding because they don't have a canvas to create.
Right. Yeah. And that's the problem is you got to let artists be artists. You got to let people lead with their passion, because you're going to get a better result. And that's what I do with Sliction Culture. Every single member of Sliction Culture leads by passion. I don't care what it is, even if it's just research. Um, you have to lead with your passion, and that's the secret sauce.
I like that. And I remember, I don't know if you remember, I have the invisible pew over here. You can't see them, I can't see them, but you're talking to someone or you're giving them that key to really activate their passion on another level by saying, yes, you can do this. You can push forward. Because I think right now in the era of AI, everything has to be super polished to you don't know if you're really watching something unless you know the person is actually real because it's that glossed over thing. So we have to make sure we're the medium to say, hey, it's another side to the story.
Absolutely. I have a philosophy as an artist myself, as a creator. Creative is my rule is this: tell me what you need, but don't tell me what to do. Um,
Ooh,
you tell an employee what to do. If I come work with you, I'm not coming in as your employee. I'm coming in as your collaborator, as your partner, and I want to be respected as such. An employee is who you tell what to do. A professional is someone who gets paid to do what they do. And so it's the same rule for my team. If I have to tell you what to do, I don't need you. I want you to tell me what would be good there. Right. And so I have a strong team and I'm very proud, and it's only growing. I'm meeting people all the time. And yeah, so we're still getting stronger. We're still getting tighter.
let's talk about your current project. What was the impetus? Because I know of the person, but I've always associated with another person. I'll let you tell the audience who it is. But tell me what was the impetus for you to say, I'm going to do that and deep dive to come up with a documentary?
Okay, so our next project is called Upside Down, Paul Revere Williams in Las Vegas. And, so it's a film that deals with architecture. Okay. And so the challenge for me is, how do I make a film about architecture exciting to a young audience? Because I do these for young people. That's the first audience I have in mind is, if the kids have to watch it in a classroom, how can I make it interesting enough where they won't be bored out of their mind and just sleep, sleep while it's playing. So Paul Revere Williams was a Black American architect. He was the first official black architect west of the Mississippi. He lived in Los Angeles, born 1894, and he was able to start his practice at a time. We're talking early 1900s, where it was it just you know, as we know the condition of Black Americans at that time overall, but here is a brother who was able to, against all the odds, persist in a white male dominated field to the point where he became the architect to the stars. This is who Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz called to design their home. This is who Frank Sinatra called to design his home. And he did some significant work here in Las Vegas. And I believe it's a story that deserves to be told.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, just the little piece that you've given is really intriguing because we know those stories were never told. They were buried. And in this day and age, a lot of stories that pertain to us are now coming to the forefront. It's no longer being buried. The energy, the ancestors are saying, tell the story, tell it because, I will, when you and I were in school, it was Martin Luther King. Oh, wait, let me back it up. Slavery, Martin Luther King, civil rights, and anything after that. And that's not even a pinch or an inch of what we contribute to the world. You tell me, or from my perspective, we've invented everything under the sun. It's just been rehashed and redone in different ways and different spins, but the credit wasn't given, and that's the problem. So I'm really looking forward to you deep diving and presenting the details that we had no idea about with this.
Right on.
That,
Yeah. Speaking of what you just said, you'll see the quote there. Our stories, our voice. This is why it's very important for exactly what you just said is why it's very important for us to take control of our own narrative, and tell the stories with the passion. For example, there's been a lot of documentaries on Paul Revere Williams. What sets this one apart? Well, a few things. One is that it's focused strictly on his work here in Las Vegas, and for two, we actually go deeper into his life, and not just his story, but the people who were holding him up. You know, he wasn't carrying that weight on his shoulders alone. He had a fabulous wife. He had some incredible women from his childhood on up. It was always women. And that's something that I think kind of gets overlooked in these other documentaries. And I'm not saying there's some great documentaries. I'm not trying to diss these others. I'm just saying that because of the importance that my mother played, my aunt played, my sister played in my life, I really want to focus on that whenever I can, to say, hey, yeah, you know, he's the name we know, but these are the unsung heroes that held him up.
well, you know what? You're making me smile even more. And I think it's really needed and necessary. We'll just go back to the civil rights movement. For a long time, they only talked about the men, but the women that was encouraging, was feeding them, was getting together to do those things. So I think when we only give one component, we miss the whole part. So we need to have a balanced perspective of who contribute, like you said. And thank you for just acknowledging the women. I think it's needed and necessary. And also, if you would say your mother's full name because she has passed, correct?
Yes.
And as to acknowledge her, would you say her full name?
Yeah, Darlene Gates.
Wonderful. We send good energy and thank you for saying her name. I'm glad you brought up about the woman or women with support. This brings me to my next thing. During my first interview with you, you mentioned that you had a goddess series. Are you doing anything with that? If not, do you plan to do something in the future?
Yeah, you know something? I have not been able to revisit that since the last time we talked, because I think the last time we talked, I was just reaching the end of production on Across the Tracks.
Yes.
So that took my time, and then I had a small break, and then I started on the Upside Down the current documentary, and then that was interrupted by an aneurysm, and so I have not had a chance to paint anything. Um, this paintings you see behind me, of course, you got prints on both sides, and then in the middle, she is part of that series. And so I yes, I do. I cannot wait to get back to painting, which I will as soon as I have a break between this current project and the next film project.
Well, I know you keep your projects laid out. I just wanted to put or as the old folks say, drop a seed about the Goddess Project because I think that is needed and necessary so we can all contribute at a balanced way. And I feel like that would be a beautiful way to give to the young men and young women, saying that, women, we count, we make a difference, even though over time, some people have told us we don't, but we do in a major, major way.
Yeah, and especially in this with this generation, this current generation of Gen Z. There's a lot of podcasts that are they're just nothing but platforms for gender battles. It's like there's this concerted effort coming from somewhere, some kind of social engineering that is promoting this hate between the genders, which didn't exist. I mean, there's always been, misogyny. There's always been, toxic masculinity. These things have always existed, but to the degree that it is today, I think we need to recalibrate um, uh, between the genders. It's like, you can't be as great by yourself than you can be if you have the right counterpart. And so, yeah,
No, I definitely have to agree with you. Has been the battle. I feel like the pandemic happened, and somewhere in between, the battles of the sexes just came in. And I'm like, before y'all was producing babies, you were at home, and then somewhere it came to the point where now everybody is battling each other. So um, we want to send good energy. We all have our good points and we have our things that we need to work on, but it definitely needs to be a balance with that. With
absolutely.
that being said, sir, can you tell me your future prediction of how you see Las Vegas or even deeper, the historic West Side?
Okay, well, Vegas will recover. Um, at some point. What needs to happen in Vegas is the Strip, okay, which is it's a sovereign state for the most part. A lot of people don't know that. That the Las Vegas Strip as we know it is not even considered Las Vegas. That is Paradise, Nevada. They don't really have to adhere to our mayor. They make their own rules. And what they're going to have to understand is that algorithm thing, doing everything by algorithm is not going to work. You're going to have to get back to people and taking care of people. It used to be you go in there, you gamble, you got a nice flow of drinks, and they weren't free because you were gambling.
Okay,
um,
say that.
and if you were doing well enough, you would get a comp to go get breakfast or to the buffet or whatever. And so even if you were just some kind of, lower middle class person with just a regular everyday job, you were still treated special,
Yes.
like cool. And then that's what would keep you coming back. Oh, they know me here. Because the pit bosses, they learn your name because they want you to come back. That money that you took from them last week, they know you're going to give it back. So they remember your name. And when someone calls you by your name, it makes you feel important. And so that right there, that little touch of class is what would keep the locals coming back, even when it wasn't, season for, conventions or whatnot. But now where these corporations have come in, they're going by algorithms. They are just, you know, no more comps. You might get a drink if once they know you've gambled $2,000. Um, you have to be an extreme high roller to be treated with any kind of dignity and respect. They're charging for parking, they're charging
Yes.
resort fees. It's
Yes.
ridiculous. They're going to have to, and I think the tourism is going to choke them out, right? They're going to choke them out, and so I think there's going to be a reset. There's going to be a reset on the strip. They're going to have to bow down to service and people. Because you'll notice, and I know I'm going on a
No, you're
rant
fine.
here. You'll notice that the local casinos are doing just fine. The station casinos, the off strip properties are doing just fine because they never charge for parking. They don't charge those crazy resort fees. They've been, they take care of their people. So while the strip is trying to get locals back on the strip, which probably is not going to happen as long as they're doing stuff like tearing the streets up for F1. Why? We can go to Sunset Station. We can go to, a myriad of other very fun casinos if we just so desire. So now for the West Side, unfortunately, and this is just my opinion, I think we're going to see a lot of gentrification happen there. I think we're seeing the roots of it now. I think first of all, it would never go away, right? That culture is going to stay there, but I think a lot of the properties there are going to be, um, they're going to be repurposed um, for more profit and more and bigger entities coming in. Unfortunately, that's just what I see for it. But right now there's some great, you got the new library going up, you got, there's some great additions coming to the neighborhood in the meantime. You got the theater going in where the former library was. There's some good moves being made, but a big chunk of that, and this is just my opinion, a big chunk of the, what would that be, the south side of west, historic west side, I think is going to be gentrified to a large degree.
Okay, so since you said that, you also hit on the part that the culture will stay there. What do you mean? Let's talk a little deeper about that.
There's too much history there. It's too big, and we've seen this in other cities where we see it downtown. Okay, downtown when the arts district, what is now the arts district, there was a time where that was a no man's land,
True.
especially after dark. And we started doing art shows and stuff, and then the property value started going up, and they gentrified it, and now it's a pretty safe and cool place to hang out after hours. Um, but yeah, so when I say that the culture won't leave, what you'll see is these big wigs who could care less about the culture. They'll come in, but they'll do little things. They'll do little symbolic things like we're going to put a statue of Sammy Davis Jr. out here, stuff like that, because we respect the culture. And it's like, do you really? you know and so again, this is just my prediction. It's not going to be the entire historic west side.
Hmm.
It's just that south side,
Hmm.
closer to Bonanza,
Hmm.
closer to where the Moulin Rouge was and all of that. I think we're going to see some, we're going to, okay, like for example, the historic west side school, can't touch that. That's a national treasure. It's on the historic registry. But south of that, going towards the freeway, I see a lot of gentrification about to happen there.
Well, hopefully, this conversation will continue to spark because we have a lot of people in our community. You know, plenty of them. I know plenty of them that speak their minds, that say, no, this is not right, and have real solutions in real time to make sure those things doesn't happen. So hopefully by having this conversation, you are totally entitled to your opinion. That's why I asked, but this will be a great way to remind even our babies to say, hey, wait, hold up, we have something. And I'll go back again to your documentary. That's a great reference piece for anybody to go, oh, even some spots that they would want to go in and do a deeper dive about the historic west side. It's so many layers to it. I know your film itself could have been 3 hours more with the information, but you had to cut it down some way, correct?
Yeah, yeah. So what's happening with that is that was a city in that was a project that was in collaboration with the city.
Hmm.
And so yeah, the history is too big. And trust me, I've gotten all your emails, I've heard them. Yes, I didn't forget any of it. I just couldn't fit it. So what I'm doing now, because I still own the film. You know, the city and I did a collaboration, but I still own the rights to the film and everything. So what I'm doing now is I'm extending it into a mini series. So instead of 1.5 hours, I can get 6 hours,
Mm,
of telling the story. The history is too big to cram into us. I have interviews that I did that didn't make the cut simply due to time,
mm,
and um, and it's that's the hardest part of making these films is getting all of this footage. And then with that one, we're talking hundreds of hours of footage and interviews, and then going through all of it and deciding what's gonna make it on film versus what we have to cut. And so luckily the project that I'm working on now is not that involved. But just so you know, there's gonna be a new title, because Across the Tracks, which is available here on YouTube for free, that's me and the city's collaboration. But I'm retitling it and I'm making a mini series out of it. So it's going to be expanded. It's going to be pretty much the same as Across the Tracks, just more expanded with a lot more information. And so that's another upcoming project.
I think that's great. And I think that's what any producer or writer or anything, they have to know when to cut it off to give to the people. And of course, if you're going to always have some people with their opinion, this should have been in and this should have been in it. But it was from your perspective, you're the producer, and you just had to do what you had to do. And it came out great. I was there at the grand opening at the Plaza Hotel, and it was a great showing. When I came in, I was like, wow, look at it. I ran into people I hadn't saw in years, some people that was missing in action. They popped up and appeared. So it was a great time, and you had it at the perfect place, I believe.
Right on, right on. Yeah.
So let's get into this music bag again, and let's talk about, can you identify a song that you were able to give your first shout out? You know, we all give shout outs. I feel like that's a part of our culture to say, I'm going to give a shout out for this song. I'm going to give a shout out for that song, and be able to connect the dots with the shout out, whether it's for a young lady you were in love with, whether it was your homeboy that had a touchdown, or it was your sister that had an award show. Can you tell me about a shout out?
Um, that for some reason, the song that comes to mind is "All I Do," Stevie Wonder. Uh, it just makes me happy. You know what I'm saying? It's a song that uplifts and I'm hoping that's what you're asking. Like is this
Yes,
okay? Yeah, then that's it.
yes,
Yeah, I'll go with that.
I like that.
An incredible talent, Stevie Wonder, who I don't think the world is going to realize what they had until it's gone. And
Mm,
I mean, we know Stevie. Everybody knows. The young people, like you say his name, they're like, oh, well, I don't know. But then when you play music, oh yeah, I know that song. They're gonna know a song.
yes.
Not to mention the songs he's written for other people that people didn't know that he did.
Mm-hmm,
Tell
mm-hmm.
Me Something Good, Shaka Khan. Um, I Can't Help It, Michael Jackson.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't know that.
oh yeah, that's his. That's his. What else did he write? He wrote
Did he write la 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 la?
yes. Yep, Minnie
Yes.
Riperton, he wrote that. Uh like I said, just a genius, the true king of R&B, hands down. People could talk about Usher and Chris Brown all they want, but you're talking about a dude who has inspired, the entire genre of
Mm-hmm,
R&B as we know it today,
mm-hmm.
and who has worked with and outlived a lot of the greatest in Black music. And so, anyway, yeah, All I Do, Stevie Wonder is a song that comes to mind. That's a song that I never get tired of. I can play it again and again. It's an incredible song. So that's my
And
pick.
it's songs that you would give a shout out to anybody. All I do. What is
Yeah.
it? All. All I
I do. Okay,
do
you got a little singing
is
out of me,
think
but that's probably not
about
good.
you. Well, one day I'm gonna get a little bit more, but yeah, that's a
Right.
beautiful song. And I think about, I don't know if you remember the movie, um, it was a Spike Lee movie. Um, he did, if I believe he did the majority of the music for it was with um Wesley Snipes.
Oh
Uh,
yes, yes, Jungle Fever.
yes,
Jungle Fever. He did do that. Yeah, that I got jungle fever.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
And these three words,
Hmm.
something simple. I
Right.
don't know if I'm saying it right, but I love that he had the whole process.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, Spike is somebody I'm always gonna be jealous of because he got Prince to do that too.
Yes, for
Always
Girl
do.
6, right?
Yeah.
Or,
He
yes.
did the entire soundtrack. Prince just open up the vault and say, use what you want,
Wow.
which is incredible.
Yeah.
As a
Yeah.
filmmaker, I envy that.
Well, of course, because the music part is the part that you have to go get licenses, or
Oh,
they say no or yes or redo this to do that. So that's a whole nother level, right?
oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, music, to me, it's fun. As long as I have a nice theme. A lot of the sync licensing that I do, I have fun looking for music to put in certain scenes to get a feeling that I want the audience to have in that particular scene. So I love that process.
Yes. Probably love it, but it's a unpredictable process too, correct?
Yeah, yeah. No, listen, man. The music can change. There's been times where because everything I edit everything to music. To the beats or whatever, so that the eyes and ears kind of, get married when they're watching it. And there has been times where I edit to a certain song, but then I hear something better, and I'm like, oh shoot! So then I have to go back and chop again, to this new song. So, but again, I love the process, so
Yeah.
it's all good.
Yeah. That's that creative process, the passion process. So let's talk about music again. I'm going to talk about this wild card. And what I mean by wild card, the songs that are unpredictable, untraditional, and unexpected. Can you share a song that would go, what? I didn't know he would say that.
Oh yeah, I got the perfect one. It's called War Pigs by Black Sabbath. Rest in peace to Ozzy Osbourne. Um, because the song was just as relevant then, and we're talking in the 1970s as it is today.
Wow.
And it's yeah, it's a hard rock banger. It's if you're a fan of Ice-T, you'll recognize it as the very first sample he used on his debut album. But War Pigs by Black Sabbath would be my wild card song.
Wow. Okay. I don't even know that one. When I get out, I'm going to have to look that up. So, what does you said is relevant? So, what does it talk about that makes it relevant now?
Well, it's the whole song is about war pigs. It's about the rich bureaucrats who sit at the top and send other people's kids to war on their behalf. And of course, at the time he made it, he would have been talking about Vietnam. But now, in the world we live in now, and with our leaders, it's no different. It's just that the technology is just a little bit more advanced.
Yeah. Well, that was definitely an unexpected, untraditional, and unpredictable song. I would have never thought that one would have came.
Well, let me tell
Um,
you, let me tell you, if you search it on YouTube, do the live version.
okay.
Live, War Pigs live, Black Sabbath. And I'm telling you, the drums, just listen to the drum. It's funky. It's those are hip hop drums. I don't care what nobody says. But yeah, War Pigs.
Well, I'm definitely going to have to try that out and let you know what I thought of that. So, we talked about your goddess series, that maybe you'll tap into that. We talked about across the tracks. We talked about your current project you're working on. Is it anything, now I know you always have something in the pipeline, but something for the future that you really want to work on, that you kind of been tapping in, or you think about it and you're like, oh, you write down those notes, I'll get back to that. Is it something that you really want to do? on a really grand scale. Of course, all of this is on the grand scale, but it's really a passion project that you've put to the side.
Yeah, yeah. I'm working on a narrative script. Um, it's a film idea, a concept that has lived in my head for many years. So I'm working on this. You know, whenever I have time, I'll work on the script. But it's going to be my first time directing actors. You know,
Mm,
I do the documentaries that I enjoy it. I also have a cartoon that we're kind of developing right now. It's a cartoon that I did years ago because my background isn't in cartooning, but it's a cartoon short, very dark film, and I'm working on that. But yeah, between those two things, those are passion projects that I have um, on the back burner for now.
So I'm going to get a little personal. And the reason why I'm going to get personal is because you've already said something to the effect on IG. And it brings me back to when we have passions, including me, sometimes we can work, work, do, and we forget about playing, and taking time for ourselves. So, how do you take time for yourself? And then also, I would like you to talk a little bit about what happened to you and does it give you a different perspective?
Oh, amen. Yes, it does. Um, so yeah, in March of this year, I suffered an aneurysm, which was strange because I always thought aneurysms just kill you, and then a lot of times they do. So I got very lucky there, and you know, I didn't go to the hospital right away when it was happening. I just thought that I needed to take some vitamins or something. I need to go get lab work done. And so I went on with my day. You know, I had the episode where it was the strangest thing I ever experienced, where you know I'm seeing everything in fours and I'm dizzy, but then it kind of went away. And I went on with my day. I went to the bank. I went to to the grocery store, and I was thinking because it was a Sunday when it happened. So I said, okay, tomorrow I'll go to the lab and get some blood work done. And you know, the dizzy spells were happening all day, very strange. So I said, let me go to sleep. So I go to sleep. I wake up and the room is spinning in the dark. So I said, dude, something's wrong. So that's when
Yes,
I had to call and get picked up because I couldn't drive anywhere. And yeah, when they got here, they said, you're having a stroke. I was like, what? A stroke? Because I didn't know a stroke and aneurysm were, you know, the same thing.
I
He was
didn't
like,
know
yeah,
that either. Let that be told.
yeah, one is in the heart and the other's in the brain, you know.
Okay.
And so what had happened was, and once we did the MRI, is they found I have two. There's still one there, but they said it doesn't look like much of a threat. They're going to keep an eye on it. But it was a blood clot that burst on this side of my brain, and it burst in the area that governs uh, concentration and memory, especially. And so for the longest time, I was struggling with those things, and I still kind of struggle with the concentration. If I'm working on something and something distracts me, it can knock me off course. But you know, for the film, I have a great team who keeps me, you know, in line and keeps me on point. But if I tell you I'm going to call you at 5, don't be surprised if I forget to call you at 5. Like I said, I'm doing better now, but for a while it was useless to try to remember anything. And so I had to put the project on hold. I had to put my life on hold. And so, yeah, it changed me. I had to change some lifestyle things because, you know, I used to party, you know, and at some point that has to come to an end. And
Mhm.
so I had to chill out on that. And what I did is I just cut everyone off. You know, and not to be disrespectful, but I just,
You had to take care of yourself.
yeah, that was it. Yeah, I had to really, um, and that's why I did the video I did to explain because I know there was a lot of people who had no idea. They just know that I stopped returning their calls, I stopped answering, I stopped coming around, and so I just wanted to make a coverall video to explain to people, look, now it's nothing personal. This is just what I have to do for my health, and yeah, so.
I think it was well said, and I think it was well done because I'm scrolling through and you was like, oh, the rest of you guys can kind of pass, but the ones that want to stay here, and I was like, well, I'm staying here to see what's going on. And then you explained it. I was like, wow, I was shocked to hear that because I can't think of a time that I've reached out to you or you've reached out to me and we have not communicated back with each other. So I was really, truly shocked. Of course, we both have things going on in our life, but I was happy to hear that you just didn't leave it on a sad note. You saying you're doing things to regenerate that energy and get back into it. And I think that's the great thing that yes, it happened, but you're doing things to bring yourself back into alignment. And
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
great example.
Yeah, when something happens like that, you start questioning your morality, and it's a reminder you ain't gonna be here forever.
Hmm.
So you better get stuff done. Yeah, the time you do have here, you better maximize it. And so at this point, it's all about legacy. What am I leaving behind that my great great grandchildren, who I'll probably never meet, can have and be proud of, to say, yo, I come from that stock,
Yeah.
and what can I leave for the people? What kind of education, what kind of entertainment can I leave for people to enjoy when I'm long gone?
Hmm.
And yeah, so that's pretty much how that went. And
And because of this, how do you have changed your lifestyle? I know you said you cut people off, but now you're back integrated into working and doing those things. How have you changed a few things to acclimate to who you are now?
um, well, I've always been like a introvert, which a lot of people don't understand, because I can be extroverted. Like, I have no problem standing up and talking in front of a crowd, or I don't have stage fright or anything like that. But I prefer to be alone,
Hmm.
and this has just made it more so that so my life has been reduced down, and willingly reduced down to just this film and my loved ones, my close loved ones. Um, and yeah, that's it. So I'm spending less money because I'm not going out. I'm getting in a lot less trouble. So yeah, the most important thing I did is I started to practice a form of stoicism, where I don't let things get to me. If I have no
Ooh,
control, I just have to be like, hey, man, that sucks, but there's nothing I can do about it. I stopped doom scrolling, so I don't spend as much time, looking at reels on Facebook or Instagram, which I do look at them, but
it
if you,
doesn't take all your time.
yeah, because if you watch those long enough, it'll be doom and gloom. You'll think the Earth is gonna end. You think there's aliens really coming. You think that there's, uh, all kind
No,
of
you're
weird
absolutely
going on.
right.
Yeah, and so that stuff, just focusing on my craft. That's pretty much it. I'm a full-time filmmaker right now. I would like to be a painter again. I'll get to that. We'll get back
Yes.
to my animation. I'll get to that. But for right now, upside down, the Paul Revere Williams in Las Vegas is all there is for me at this point.
Um, I think that's great. I'm happy to know, even though I didn't know prior, that you are doing well. And in addition to that, I just want to piggyback off of the statement you made, the doom and gloom. Um, we are manifestors, we are energy igniters. When we focus or we're consumed with that, that is now what's produced. And we need to be the ones sitting watching outside the window and not participating because it will take all of your good energy.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Just like we eat food, and the if the food is fortified with nutrients, it's going to heal. It's going to give you energy. If you eat nothing but junk food, it'll tear you down. As they say, you are what you eat. And I believe it's the same thing with what we consume through our eyes and our ears. Um, it's gonna, instead of digesting into our physical bodies, it digests into our subconscious and becomes part of our personality, becomes part of our worldview. And so I think we should be very careful with what we consume in those ways as well.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like cartoons or children movies tell a lot of the truth. It was a movie called Tomorrowland. I think it came out in 2003 or 2012. Excuse me, 12 or 13. And George Clooney was in it. And a lot of times people think it's only for kids. Of course, my children, I took them to go see it. And at the very end, it was a lot of chaos and things were going on. And the guy that was the villain, he was getting ready to go through a different portal or a different dimension. And the girl was like, the child, she was like, I figured it out. I figured it out. You did it. You did it. And he was like, no, I just gave them the picture. I just showed them the chaos. I just showed them the flood. I just showed them everything and they believed it, so they produced it, and he went on about his way. So we have to be careful that we're ingesting all of this and recreating for somebody else, and now we're like, how did this happen? Because we believe what we saw.
This is 100% factual. And unfortunately, uh, uh, the genre of music that I grew up on has become almost wholly consumed with low frequency, vibrational output, and that's hip hop, of course. And there's still some incredible rappers out there that
Absolutely.
are, with some great uplifting messaging, but the majority and the one that gets the most playtime on what I guess we would call mainstream stages, it's full of some dark stuff, and I think it's affecting generations of young people. And so I think that's why what you're saying is very important
Hmm.
and something I think we should take seriously
Yeah.
um, moving forward.
And also, it's by design. When I found out later that your rapper was paid or encouraged, you're gonna get $100,000 if you say blow her head off or say this about her. So some of this stuff is being generated and given out and reproduced. And hopefully, I think this is a great example for people to do their own thing and follow their passion. It may not get the airplay you want it to get, but are you blessing someone?
And speaking to what you just said, I'll give you a good real world example that can be easily researched. Okay, so you remember when we were in our late teens, early 20s, Snoop Dogg became all the rage. Death Row Records became all the rage. You know, the Chronic album, it took over the genre. Um, there was a song called Gin and Juice. Do you remember that?
Absolutely.
That was an anthem. That was an anthem. It was, yeah, I mean, now, we take it for granted because we're talking 20 some years ago, shit, 30 years ago. Yeah, I'm showing my age. But okay, but there's a line in there where Snoop Dogg says, "Now that I got me some Seagram's gin, everybody got their cup, but they ain't chipped in." So that seems like an innocent line, but I do recall at that time going to parties, going to clubs, everybody was ordering gin and juice. And of course, when they would ask, "Well, what kind of gin?" Seagram's, of course. Now, when I found out that Seagram's actually owned Death Row Records, I was like,
Stop
"Wow!"
playing with me. Stop playing with me.
Go look it up. Seagram's owned Death Row Records. And so it was the same thing. It was that mind explosion. Like, wow, that was slick advertising. That was, and then you start to see it in other places in music. And it makes you wonder when you get a song now called Molly Percocet, Molly Percocet,
Mm,
repeating these mantras. Like, who's paying it? Was there a secret check written?
mm,
Because you can't get better advertising than to have a number one song on the hip hop charts repeating your deadly brand.
yes.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I say that to say that everything you just talked about is true. It's not new. It's been going on. Hip hop is a specifically, there's a reason why hip hop became the number one genre of music for, you know, a long time, because it follows the, no matter how complex or dope the song is, it still follows that that nursery rhyme, uh, ring around the rosy type thing, which is how we teach children. That's how we teach children ABCs. This is how we
Yes.
teach them, and so as we, as hip hop has matured, it has went down this dark path where these mantras that are being repeated in the hooks are uh, dark. They're
Hmm.
very dark. You remember when we were young, there was gangster rap, but that's not all there was.
Correct.
Okay. And the gangster rappers would talk about being the dope man. We sell dope. That's how we make money. Now we've come full circle to pride in actually being a drug user,
Yeah.
which is insane to me. you know, but yeah, I think there's been a machine behind the music industry, especially hip hop. Because when you think about the pill popping that a lot of kids are doing, that starts with Eminem, who was also an outgrowth of what was one time Death Row Records through Dr.
Hmm.
Dre. Yeah. So anyway, like I said, I don't want to accuse anybody of being instrumental in any of this stuff, but
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to not see it.
Well, I think the biggest thing is to let. I am a huge lover of music, rap, just music, period. Okay. But it is another side to the story. And I always focus on the positive, but we also have to put things on the table so we, as well as our babies, can understand that it's a whole nother side to the game that has been hidden, that you think they're just saying it to just say it, and they've been given 1,000 or 100,000 to insert it in some kind of way. And that's a great example to show that they already knew these individuals were talented. They knew all they had to do is go to them, say, put this in there. And some of them knew and some of them did not know. And they did it, and this was the results of it. But at the end of the day, things are coming to the forefront now. Even what you shared with me, I had no idea about. And this gives us an opportunity to say, wait, let me check. This is not going to work for me.
Right on. Yeah, and it's very important, because once you know the play, you know, okay, like if you're watching a certain piece of entertainment, but you know the tactics and you know the moves they make, you can still enjoy that entertainment, but keep yourself shielded from it
Yeah,
because you know what they're trying to do.
yeah.
And that's about the best advice I could give to a young person. It's like, okay, you understand that this rapper's an actor. They're not really out here
There you go.
killing. The scary thing is with a lot of these drill rappers, they are like they're really doing this stuff, and so it's but again, it's a machine that's hard to fight. It's hard to tell kids because you just come off like I could just come off as an old dude when I'm trying to tell them, hey man, so listen, this. They're like, it's stuff, because it was the same with us
Mhm.
when I was listening to hip hop as a kid. You know what I mean? So, um, but yeah, you're absolutely right. There is a deeper side to things that I think we need, especially as Black people, need to take more seriously and focus on more. And that is to understand the weapons being forged against us.
Mhm. Well, I can say for my piece, when I hear something that is amazing, I encourage it. Um, and I think that's what we need to do is to continue to encourage the really great stuff up front. And it doesn't seem like you're telling them what to do, you're encouraging them. And we know the majority of society, what's hot, if you get enough being positive, then the rest of them will come along because they don't want to be left out. So.
That's right. That's absolutely correct.
Well, I have had a wonderful time talking with you. Um, You've been able to give me some perspective I didn't know about. As I say on my podcast, sometime I'm the teacher, sometime I'm the student. Today I have been the student, Mr. Gates,
Wow.
on so many things. Thank you for really, truly opening up and telling us some personal things. And I want to encourage you. I do this off camera and I do it on camera to continue to showcase the behind the scenes that nobody really knows about or forgotten about, or it was hidden intentionally. And I want you to continue to bring it out and share all of us. And when we say Las Vegas, I want people to understand that we're just talking about the root. We want this to be everywhere. It should be globally. It's not just for Las Vegas. This is just where it's produced. Am I right or am I wrong on that?
Oh no, you're absolutely correct. We are an international city, one of the more famous cities on planet Earth. And yeah, yeah, these are stories that are relevant everywhere. And yeah, we're going to take it up and out of here as well.
Yes, amazing. So if someone says, you know what, I like what he's talking about, they're going to go and they're going to check out your previous document. Uh, they say, wait a minute, I want to get in touch with him. How can they get in touch with you? Can you give them some information?
Yeah, yeah, just go to sliction.com. All my socials are there, my contact. You're going to reach me. Um, so yeah, just go to sliction.com. You can Google Sliction, Google Iceberg Slick, Emmett Gates, Las Vegas. All of that's going to be me.
Awesome. Would you ever be opposed to working with, say, some young adults? What I mean, like 16 through 21, if they have an idea and they want to do a collaboration with you, would you ever consider that?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that. In fact, the main theme for Upside Down, Paul Revere Williams in Las Vegas, is being composed by a 15-year-old who
Wow.
attends the Las Vegas Academy. So, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I
Right
work with
on.
artists. I work with artists. As long as you're leading with your passion and it's authentic, I want to work with you. Absolutely.
I love that. I love that because I believe that we all should have a component. So I have someone that's like maybe 10, 15 years older than me that really encourages me. And then I have someone that's 10, 15 years younger than me, and they say I have encouraged them. So I believe this is my perspective. We should have an ecosystem, and that was our community was based on. It was always someone within there that can give you a little bit of wisdom, whether it was the baby to the teen to the 20, and so on and so forth. And I feel like that circle has been broken in some kind of way, but we're getting back to that where we can go sit and talk and get some wisdom from people. So shout out to you for having that 15-year-old on board, okay?
Right on. Yeah. Very talented young man. This dude, by the time he hits his early 20s, we're looking at Prince. I mean, the kid is that
Wow.
good. He's classically, he plays classical. He's self-taught. He grew up with just a single mother so far. His father passed away. And it just, man, the kid is talented. He definitely, I wanted to give him his first job. Let's just
Oh,
say
wow.
that. So,
I
yeah,
think that's wonderful. And we have to be those catalysts that see the gifts in these babies. And not saying they don't see it, but we can give them some guidance along the way till they're ready to, as they said, pop out and show what they do.
that's right. That's right.
So I have one last question before we get out of here. And of course, it's pertaining to music. So my third season is about discovering you, discovering yourself. We all have to do that. I always say, if you can't take care of you, you sure can't take care of anybody else. With that being said, can you identify a song that you can share that you have discovered about yourself that you can share and dedicate to the world?
Yeah, you might get mad at me, but that's, and I say this with a little bit of jest, but I'm also serious too. When you said discovering yourself, I write comedy too. So I was like, you know what? So the song I picked for this is a song called Tambourine by Prince. And I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but I'm pretty sure he wrote it in jest too. But
Oh,
it's so funky. It was on his follow up to Purple Rain, Around the World in a Day. It's not a full song. It's just like a prelude or something, but it's so funky and drum heavy. When you listen to it, when he's talking about playing his tambourine and discovering himself, you'll know what I mean. But it is funky. It's definitely worth the listen.
well, I'm definitely going. I have two songs now I need to check out. I cannot tell you throughout these three seasons the songs that people have suggested, and I get off. I'm like, oh, I get it. So this will be another one, sir.
Right on. Right on.
So, my spiel before we get out, I talk about the journey and the destination. The journey is where we learn and where we grow, and the destination is where we celebrate. We have to celebrate because if you don't celebrate, you don't really get the essence of what you do and how you do. You have to celebrate, take a breather. But we can't be in that area all the time. We have to get back into the journey where we continue to learn, to elevate, and just discover. I say all that to say when I have my women on, I bow to them, but when I have my men, I salute. So I salute you, sir.
Right on.
And I thank you for coming on to my third season to support me and to tell your story. And as I do to all my guests, last word go to you. So whatever's on your heart, please share.
Yeah, I just want to say that, man, I've been given a second lease on life. I don't know how much longer I have, but I'm optimistic. And while I'm here, I'm not going to waste it. And for my young people out there, and by young, I'm talking 20s, even early 30s. Um, it's not too late. I made my first film when I was 50 years old. And so yeah, I know you feel old when you're 25. You're not.
Uh,
You got plenty of time to figure it out. And we're living in a time of flux where technology is coming in and changing everything. And so my suggestion to you would be to keep an eye on this technology and see where you can fit in because there's no stopping it.
mhm.
And I hate to be so doomy, like talking about gentrification and these things, but these are realities that we have that have data that we've seen before and we can see it. And so just be prepared for it, whatever it is. Be prepared for it because um, you can survive through whatever. So that's it.
I like that. Well, that was well said. You can survive through whatever. You guys, please put your hands together and thank my God, my special guest, Mr. Emmett
Yeah, man, it's fun. I love it. I'll do. You want to do another one tomorrow?
Yes, we can do another one. Well, put it this way: if not tomorrow, my next season
There you
definitely,
go.
because I'm not stopping. I keep going. I'm not stopping. I keep going. I keep going. No, I'm just playing. But,
You're right. Yeah,
but
I love it.
anyway, as I say to all my guests, I'll see you out here in these Las Vegas streets.
Peace.
My MR supporters, stay tuned for a special preview of Mr. Emmett Gates' upcoming documentary.
You know, some folks say that the year in which you were born and everything that happens in that year somehow shapes who you become. Now, I don't know if that's entirely true, but just in case it is, in order to understand the topics of today's discussion, we have to go all the way back to the year 1894. This was America still finding its footing. a young nation, stitched together by the raw power of steel and steam. It was a time of stark contrast. You see, while unimaginable fortunes were being made by a few titans of industry who lived in opulence, the mass of working-class Americans, which included new arrivals from distant shores and children as young as 4 years old, struggled to eat. And as you can imagine, that caused trouble. The Panic of 1893, the year before, continued its hold on the nation, leading to shuttered businesses and millions unemployed. Mass labor strikes often turned ugly, sometimes ending in lives lost. Down south, less than 3 decades after the wounds of the Civil War, the promise of Reconstruction had withered on the vine. The ambitious program that had attempted to rebuild and racially integrate the South had collapsed. In its place, a system of brutal oppression called Jim Crow would spread its ugly wings across the region, ensuring that the guarantees of freedom for many would remain a cruel mirage for years to come. And if all this wasn't enough, every American, young or old, rich or poor, black or white, all faced the same invisible enemy. A silent killer called tuberculosis was quietly ravaging the nation without discrimination. However, it wasn't all bad. History, as we all know, is rarely one-dimensional. Even amidst these times of profound difficulty, the year of 1894 also bore witness to the origins of some great American favorites. For example, that was the year that a former caramel merchant named Milton Hershey decided to focus his efforts on a new sweet treat and founded the Hershey Chocolate Company in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Also that year, in Vicksburg, Mississippi, a popular fizzy beverage was bottled for the first time, and the iconic Coca-Cola bottle was born. Billboard magazine was published for the first time that year in Cincinnati, Ohio, a full 57 years before the world would even know what rock and roll was. Now, for the topics of today's discussion, we have to go west, way out in the vast western frontier, in a desert at the southernmost tip of the state of Nevada. A widowed postmaster and rancher named Helen J. Stewart was busy buying large tracts of land to establish what would eventually become a major southwestern city. And while she was busy doing that, at that same time, in that same year of 1894, a year defined by hardship and uncertainty, of winners and losers, haves and have-nots, in Los Angeles, California, a child would be born who would become the unlikely contributor to skylines in cities all over the world, including the one being established by Miss Stewart. That city would eventually be called Las Vegas. And that child, well, his name was Paul Revere Williams. And this is their story.